Well, hi everybody, it's the Week in the Tackle podcast, the podcast where we get together on a weekly basis, sort of, and tackle things in the world of football we thought were interesting. Brian Duntez still working at the World Cup and is contractually not allowed right now to record our weird little podcast, so he is not here today, but I am here. I'm Tom Rennie of SiriusXM FC fame. Join me every day, more or less, during the World Cup, covering the competition on the football show on SiriusXM FC. Sometimes we're starting at 7, sometimes 8, sometimes 9. I don't know. But I'll be on in the mornings whenever the coverage starts. So do please join us, subscribe if you're in the USA. And thank you for subscribing to this podcast. We're trying to keep you updated as to what we're finding interesting at the World Cup on a regular basis. 2 shows last week, okay? I'm doing some heavy lifting here. I wanted to join you today to have a bit of a chat about England and indeed the end of the second round of fixtures, with some teams going through and of course some other teams still to find their way through to a round of 32, which is just too many teams going through, isn't it really? Firstly, I just want to talk a little bit about the tournament itself, which I think has been really good, right? It has been a really good tournament. I am a naturally cynical person, as regular subscribers will know, but I do think a lot of this tournament, I've not been in America as yet. I'll be there for the quarterfinals week, and we're looking forward to that in Miami. Should be lots of fun. Got some events planned, and we'll post things here for you. But I do think it's been really good, and the stadiums have been great, and the atmosphere has been great. There are a couple negatives, though. Number one, I was looking at tickets for a game in Miami, and they're trying to sell them at $5,000 to $8,000 for the worst seats in the Hard Rock. And I just think, please stop being proud of ticket prices. Like, I don't want to do a big ticket prices thing here. I'm sure we'll do that in post, but there's supposed to be a regulator that provides basic consumer protections. And basic consumer protections is like a price cap. Maybe it's linked to the median wage of the area. Maybe there has to be a certain percentage of seats that are thought of as quote-unquote affordable, like affordable housing or something. But like, there should be a section of seats available to what people can afford. And I know the stadiums have been full. That is a massive success. But it's the World Cup. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for some people. And if you have travelled, as I will, from England to Miami, you will pay the price because you're not doing this again. And that's the same for Australian fans, Ghanaian fans, Scottish fans, Panamaniacs, whatever, right? So the stadiums being full, I don't think is we got the pricing right, that they are obviously going to push. They didn't get the pricing right. The pricing of this tournament is an utter disgrace. And there needs to be a regulatory body protecting people buying tickets. And unfortunately, that body is supposed to be FIFA, and they are treating this tournament, as they always do, like a cash grab. But it's not just a cash grab this time. It is a grab with both hands, a mechanical digger, hired help, put it into a Scrooge McDuckian vault, and then claw for more money. And I just think that's unacceptable for the World Cup. It's unacceptable for the world's game. And I know it's such a cliche, but football really is nothing without the people that come to watch it. This World Cup would have been a selection of fine matches of football without all the incredible fans that have given us such joy over the last couple of weeks, including Scottish fans in Boston and Norwegian fans doing the rowing thing in Times Square. Like, that's what this World Cup is. The South Koreans drinking tequila with Mexico fans in, was it Mexico City? It's all, that's what the World Cup is, right? Along with the great football. Last 8 is where we start talking a lot more about the football. Right now we're talking about the cultural impact of the thing. And it has been great for local businesses, obviously. It has been great for local bars who have sold out of this beer, that beer, and the other beer. I'm sure it has been great for local economies and people coming to stay in hotels and what have you. But, people shouldn't need to sell a kidney, remortgage their house, take their kids' college fund to pay for these tickets. Like, any game of football, the best game of football you can imagine, there is a price limit. And look, I am not a rich guy, okay? But I'm also not a poor guy. Like, I'd say I'm upper middle class. I earn above the average wage in the UK, and I earn above the average wage in London. I do work 7 days a week, though, so give me a break. But, I have a price limit. I'd say I don't want to pay more than for a World Cup game that my team is not involved in. Let's just say $1,000 for argument's sake. I think if I was going to Miami and it was England against someone in the quarterfinal, I would probably pay $1,000. I'd probably do it. when you're asking me to pay $5,000, I'm sorry, I've got a mortgage to pay, and I've got 2 kids, and I've got, bills coming out of my arse like we all do, right? So that's the line for me. That's the limit, and it frustrates me that people aren't more outraged. I think you should all be absolutely outraged. Anyone who's bought a ticket should be livid. They're stealing from us because we love the sport, and I think there needs to be a regulatory body that looks after us. And I don't think this is pie in the sky, frankly. And if you do, I'm sorry for your cynicism. I'm sorry for how you see the world. You might say that's not how the world works. Well, we're in the world. I'm part of the world, and I think it is how it should work. I don't think we should surrender to naked, greedy, corporate, uber capitalism. I'm happy for there to be capitalism, okay? That's great. I'm happy people make money, but they shouldn't make so much money that they are essentially stealing from us. And, these people that are running the World Cup and these people that are running these stadiums, they're kind of getting a thing. They didn't create this thing. This thing is a 100-year-old tournament. They didn't create the World Cup. This is not the sweat from their brow that we're enjoying, right? FIFA may have created this tournament 100 years ago from what it once was, but it wasn't created by Gianni Infantino. It wasn't created by the people that work there. And they should be working in our interests. They should. They absolutely should. And these prices are a disgrace. And anyone should be able to buy a ticket. Anyone. And if you want to build these palaces of greed inside the stadium so very rich people can go in a box, that's absolutely fine. That's great. I think there should be corporatism. And they should... major sponsors should have boxes where they invite X, Y, and Z. Maybe their staff every now and then would be nice too, right? That's great. But a basic seat at the back of a giant stadium, which, some of these are not fit for football. I know everyone's impressed with the size. I'm impressed by the size of some of these stadiums. But, I mean, the one in Boston, for example, there's no tier behind the goals, which is the most important place in a football stadium. And there is no fans there because it's set for another sport. Or the fans are on the side because most American sport needs to be seen from the side, not the ends. Nothing really happens in the end zone. You just walk over a line and do a little dance. It's not the thing. The thing is the sport in the middle. That's where American football takes place. So they don't need a big end. Whereas here, actually, you need an end and you want someone right behind the goal. That's what the best football stadiums are. And so you're even not providing me with the space inside the stadium, which is the key part of a soccer stadium. As America knows, I've been to Austin and to Columbus and the Nordeca in Columbus. I saw Cucho Hernandez score a goal there. They know. Football fans know. So, again, there are issues here. You're not giving me a football stadium. You're giving me a converted stadium for mass capacity, but you're charging me more money than my first car cost. And when I get there, I'm not also getting food and drinks thrown in, am I? I'm charging $20 to $30 for a can of Miller Lite. I like Miller Lite, but you get my point here. So anyway, that's annoyed me this week. Moving on. Football. Want to talk about England. Because you won't be surprised to hear, dear viewers, dear listeners, subscribe on YouTube if you're on Spotify or Apple and vice versa. England weren't very good. And I think these were... Well, first of all, let's look at the big picture of it, right? England are going to go through. They are going to beat Panama, and they are going to win the group. So I'm not wildly concerned about this result. And I think it's evident that Thomas Tuchel is not particularly concerned about this result because they've got 4 points already, and they've got their weakest opponent coming up, I think, next, and Panama are already eliminated. So it's all there. But I do think there's cause for concern here. There is cause for concern. They are built to beat better teams, and they are not really built, this England team, to take on a low block opponent, which Ghana obviously were. They were so deep, they were nearly underwater, which we knew they were going to be, and some of the breaks were really, really good and probably should have scored one. Maybe Jordan Pickford should have been sent off. I think they should have had at least one penalty, and it would have been a perfectly executed game plan by Carlos Queiroz, who is in his 70s, but is dressing like a backup member of One Direction. Is that a too niche reference? They've broken up now. Anyway, a boy band, what is popular now? But they know that game plan. Now, if England were going to break down a team like that, there's 2 players they needed. Number 1 is someone who can control the midfield in a metronomic fashion, which we have not had for, when was Michael Carrick? 20 years, 25 years? And even he only started 1 game at a World Cup for England, right? I mentioned this. I got some grief from a couple of idiots on X. You'll be stunned to believe. But I got some grief about saying this. But when Luka Modric destroyed England at the World Cup in 2018, it was evident that was the player that we needed. And obviously, Luka Modric is a Ballon d'Or winning great of the game, so it's maybe an unfair assessment. But even a Timu version of Luka Modric would be good. And we do not have that player. We don't have that player. We still don't have that player. We couldn't take control of midfield in that way. And that's why they lost back then. It's why they'll get knocked out in the quarterfinals this time. They also didn't have a Kevin De Bruyne type as well, but, that's a different sort of thing in number 10. And so that leads me to, again, I can only assume that Thomas Tuchel was planned to not really care too much about the Ghana game, because they're built to win the big games. And again, if that wins him the World Cup, he's obviously done the right thing. If that gets him to the semi-finals, that obviously is the right thing. But in a game like this, what did you need? Subtlety. There's no subtlety in this team. I keep thinking of Judi Dench as M speaking to Daniel Craig's Bond. And she says, "You're a blunt instrument, aren't you, Bond?" I'm not sure that's a good impression or a verbatim quote. But, that's basically what she says. He's a very skilled, very talented assassin. And I think England have got some very skilled, very talented assassins. A lot of really good workmen, a lot of really talented players. But they really lack subtlety. They're trying to make a shepherd's pie here, but they don't have the cheese on top. They don't have the butter in the mash. They just have potato. And again, that might win this tournament against really good opposition. But you could see it struggling last night. And that turns you to this squad. Well, let's start with the team. Noni Madueke is not a top player. He's a good player. He's not a top player. He's the backup to Bukayo Saka at Arsenal. Is not someone that is going to get you great numbers. I think he's got 2 goals and 2 assists in the Premier League this season. He's a perfectly good up-and-down merchant. And for a Fulham or a Leeds or a newly promoted Ipswich Town, I think, good player. Good player for them. He'll have a good career there. Won't get great numbers, but he'll have 1 or 2 really good games, like at Old Trafford away for Ipswich, and they win 1-0. I can see that. He's playing too high at Arsenal, and I think any other team, I don't think would look at Noni Madueke at that level, but of course he was coached under Thomas Tuchel before, and he sees him as a trusted lieutenant, but just doesn't have the composure, doesn't have the consistency, doesn't have the quality. And we're talking about here trying to beat France at the World Cup, and they've got Barcola and Dembele and Elise. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Fulham trying to finish in the top 7, which, again, would be a great achievement, but that's the level that Madueke is. On the other side, someone's going to need to explain Anthony Gordon to me soon. I mean, I was on holiday straight after the football season finished, so I missed the transfer to Barcelona. But then I came back and I was like, what? With Anthony Gordon, with the hair of Claire Balding? He's now gone to Barcelona, having played at Newcastle. Just seems like a really good up-and-down merchant that could play mid-table Premier League. And I am delighted to be proved wrong on these things, because it would mean they played well for England at the World Cup. And in the right sort of game, with space in behind, if they were both playing for Ghana in this game, they could have been a real threat, potentially, because they're both so fast. But in terms of talent, precision, maturity, all that sort of stuff, they just don't have it. And I don't really understand what they're doing there. But fine, right? Thomas Tuchel does. And again, they might come into their own in games later in the tournament, against Mexico in the Azteca or France somewhere down the line. Fine. But they were both poor here. And I thought Thomas Tuchel was really slow to try and fix that problem. I think as well that the midfield of Anderson and Declan Rice, again, very one-dimensional. Jude Bellingham is obviously a great player, a great physical player. Has just incredible power. Always the most powerful player on the field. And is a moments player. But he's not someone that's got an instinctive, nice little pass through a crowd. And the relationship between him and Harry Kane that looked good against Croatia looked very poor here. Kane barely touches the ball beyond that volley that he should score later in the game. But that relationship against a real super low block looked really poor. And then you look further back, Ezri Konsa. Ezri Konsa is fine, but that was a foul. That was a penalty that Ghana should have had in this game. I couldn't believe how little analysis there was, really, of this penalty shout. I think it's Prince Adu going through, and he just leaps up in the air, wraps his right leg to the knee of Adu, and takes him out. And they just sort of get on with it. And I just thought that's such a bad challenge. Firstly, he's outrun. He's in a poor position. He didn't see the danger. Then he tries to leap in And it's a really clumsy lunger. And the ball was there to be won because Prince Adu had done a really poor touch. So it was there to be won. But he executes the challenge badly and massively gets away with it. Don't quite see the qualities of Ezri Konsa, but then I think on that score, I'm not sure it's a strong group of centre-halves that England currently have, so it kind of makes sense that he'd be in the 4. Gay was poor, I thought, in the game as well. Some really bad touches, really bad passing. He clearly is off form. Maybe something has affected him mentally after it was his howler that essentially ended the title race. I don't know, but this is not the Mark Gay that we've seen at Crystal Palace and the start of his Man City career. So, question marks there. Also, Jed Spence, he's fast. He's fast, but I'm not sure there's anything else there. And they're just shoving a right footer on the left when it's not necessary. Didn't understand it. And I don't want to do too much on, like, what wasn't taken in the squad. But we'll do a minute. Luke Shaw should have played in this game. Luke Shaw should have started at left back. There's that bit where he's shouting to Jed, Tuchel, to get left. You had someone who's really good at pass and move, who's got major tournament experience of England, and has just had his best season, most consistent season, and fittest season in years. You didn't want to take him. So even as you called up Trevor Chalobah in the squad when Livramento got injured. Okay, weird. So Luke Shaw should have started. In central midfield, Adam Wharton should have started this game. He's not in the squad because he took Jordan Henderson to bring the noise. And that's great. He adds to the culture. We'll just get him a room. Get him a room and he can train with the team. Hire him as a coach. But Wharton would have started this game and he just would have moved it around and moved it around and moved it around and looked forward when things got stodgy in a way that Anderson and Rice don't really do. They're power runners. Especially Rice. He's a great runner. There's no space to run into, so what's he going to do? You need a subtle passer. Didn't have the subtle passer. Morgan Gibbs-White has been the player of the year in the Premier League for me, of the English possibilities. He's the kind of guy that could have given a little bit of pizzazz and zip to this team, and you might say, well, he had Morgan Rogers and Jude Bellingham. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Eza has not had a better season than Morgan Gibbs-White. A bit part player in an Arsenal team that won the league because of corner set pieces and clock manipulation. Eza didn't have too many great games where he ran the game and looked amazing. I don't think he's a top player for Arsenal. I'm not sure he's a top player at all. I'm not sure Gibbs-White is a top player for that matter, but I do think on form and what you can give, Gibbs-White is a better option. And then you can say to me, well, what about Foden and Palmer? And you would say, well, they had bad seasons. I think that's right. Point me to the time when Noni Madueke was in fantastic form. Point me to the time where Anthony Gordon was thrilling and consistently good. He wasn't even playing the back end of the season at Newcastle because they were fattening up for the Barcelona sale, fattening him up. So you've already got players on the field that aren't in great form. You've already got Jude Bellingham. Did he have a great season for Real Madrid? Not really. So don't tell me about the form of Foden and form of Palmer. Could Palmer have been ticked into a bit of form after a 4-week break? And a nice couple of weeks away? And maybe. He's got the talent, though. And it just left him at home to leave Jordan Henderson on the bench to bring the pain when necessary, to cheerlead the team. All right, it's fine. And that's how you get games last night. Ghana were very good. Very well organised. Great low block. Brilliant organisation. Carlos Queiroz obviously has a lot of experience at World Cups, and that showed once again, despite his relatively recent appointment. But I think the problems were absolutely foreseeable. And they aren't going to do well against the low block because they are not a subtle team. It's not a subtle squad. Thomas Tuchel is not a subtle manager. And look, this may well play out right in the long run because the team has obviously been set up to beat teams like Croatia. The Rashford goal that made it 4 against Croatia is the kind of goal that Thomas Tuchel's team has been set up to do. They want to be the mid-block team. And they want to face other mid-block teams. That's the thing that's going to potentially help them. But this game wasn't set up for them, and they also played very poorly in it. And they also should have conceded a penalty. I think Jordan Pickford, when he runs out the penalty area, somehow gets a free kick for clearly doing a foul. Yeah. I just think those are issues there that were foreseeable. But if they beat Panama and win the group, which I think will happen, if they get better opposition, this team I think is better set up to face those teams. But yeah, plenty of concerns here. They look like a blunt instrument. They look like James Bond in Casino Royale, where what we need is James Bond in Skyfall. enough bond there. Two other quick bits before I'm out of time today. I did just want to mention Cristiano Ronaldo. Very much enjoyed the battering of Cristiano Ronaldo over the last few days. Still think that he's the biggest problem for Portugal's hopes of winning this tournament and going deep in this tournament, but got his couple of moments against Uzbekistan. Good for him. Good for the tournament. Good for anyone who spent 5 to 10 grand to go and see that game. They went to see Cristiano Ronaldo and he delivered in this one, so good for him. I don't think Roberto Martinez is brave enough or a good enough coach to make the change to a lesser player who can offer the team more later in the tournament. That's the reason they're going to lose a quarterfinal or a round of 16 game. But for now, good to see him score his goals. Lionel Messi, obviously more of a threat in more difficult games. Scored 5 now, a hat-trick and a brace against Austria. Again, great for him and great for everyone who spent that massive money. And it's great to see all the superstar names turning up. It sort of aided the narrative of this being a great World Cup, that the superstar names are turning up and delivering and scoring goals. And even when they've had a bad moment, Kane against Ghana and Ronaldo in the first game for Portugal, they've also had good moments. And people, this is America, people who come to see the superstars, and the superstars are all turning up. And I wonder whether the fact it's in America and they keep cutting to celebrities in the crowd that we don't know, because it's such a sort of vacuous celebrity culture in lots of ways, certainly the TV broadcast world. I wonder whether that's convinced the guys to turn up. Convince them is the wrong word. Like, it's encouraged them to turn up because, you know, you want to see your lights up in Broadway, right? You want to see your name in lights in America because it's the country where your name in lights is the most important thing there is. It's why there's a reality TV star as the president, because being famous in America is the most important thing. That's the view from the outside. You can disagree with that if you want, but that's how we all see America from the outside, and these are guys from the outside coming in. So they want to buy into that American celebrity culture. They want to be the star. We would say they want to see their name on the back pages. You would say you want to see their name trending on the American social media sites. And I don't know what that is. Getting the corporate sponsorship, if David Beckham isn't in every single advert, maybe that could be you. Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, whomever. So, look, that's been great to see. I think it's been a really great World Cup so far. England will win their group and beat Panama. We're off to the races then. We'll see how it turns out. I'm out of time for today. I've got to go over to SiriusXM and start our show. But do subscribe to Week in the Tackle. More shows coming up. The games are coming thick and fast now. So we're going to knock out some further shows coming up. I am being too lazy to get guests on. I know I'm being very lazy, but I also like the sound of my own voice. And I think as you're subscribing to this program, you probably like the sound of my voice as well. So I thank you for that. Dunny will be with us later in the tournament. I'll be doing some shows in Miami at, what are we talking about, 11, 12 days now? Till I'm off at the quarterfinals in Miami. So I'll be recording stuff, hopefully daily. We'll see how it goes. I've got some parties to attend. But we'll record some stuff while we are there, certainly. And we're out of time for today. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. This is Week in the Tackle, and we shall see you in a couple of days. Thanks, everyone.